Hello everyone, welcome to Filthy Clean Vegan. Today we are going to be making an American classic, the pumpkin pie. This is something that we Brits just do not cook enough. I don't think I've ever eaten it in England, and that's a shame because it's a genuinely great dish and I want to share it with you if you don't know how to make it, and even if you're American, I think I've got a pretty good pumpkin pie here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the pastry from scratch. However, you could buy pre-bought pastry, like it's completely fine. I tend to make it from scratch just so I've got that feeling of satisfaction that I crave. I've made pies with pre-bought pastry and it's always fine. What I'm doing here is just mixing the flour and the butter together, slightly with a fork to get it combined, and then use my hands just to crumble it all up and get it a bit bitty. Then you want to add some ice cold water, emphasis on the ice cold. Add the minimum 4 tablespoons, and if it seems a bit too dry, then go for more, but don't go all the way in with 6. Even if you think you'll need it, start with 4 and then work from there. If your pastry seems too wet at this point, don't worry too much, because when you put it in the fridge, as you're going to do, you're going to leave it in the fridge overnight, it will firm up anyway. So the trick here is to not overwork it. Run it around with a wooden spoon, and again, you essentially just want to get everything nice and combined. Then you're going to chuck it in some cling film, wrap it up and leave it overnight. As you can see, it's leaving quite a bit on my hands. That's because it's still a bit wet, but when I came to roll it the next day, it was completely fine. You're going to want to take this out the next day just before you start making your pumpkin pie mixture, as you can see that I'm doing now, because you want to bring it back down to room temperature before you start to roll it out. I like to have a fairly spicy pumpkin pie, not spicy in terms of like chili, but quite a lot of nutmeg, quite a lot of cloves. That's just what I like. It tends to be a bit of a darker pumpkin pie. However, if you're cooking for younger kids that might not like this, or you genuinely don't like the taste, I'd maybe think about reducing a bit of the cloves, a bit of the nutmeg. It's not a massive deal. It tastes fine either way, but it's all about your personal preference. Now we've got the pumpkin pie mixture together, it's time to start rolling out the pastry. We buttered the pie tin, and then we put a bit of flour on your rolling board just to make sure the pie pastry does not stick. I probably spent a little bit too long rolling out the pastry here. I think I was just a bit worried about getting it to look really nice on camera, but you don't have to worry too much. It can be irregular. That's the whole point of Filthy Clean Vegan. But what you want to do here is just roll it out so it's generally the same size as your pie dish. Add a bit extra to go down the sides. I decided to transfer it onto parchment paper as I usually do, mainly because it's a bit easier to roll out on here, and you'll want it on parchment paper when it comes to transferring it into the pie dish. This is going to be one final roll out, so it's just a lot bigger in the pie dish. And you measure it out like this, and in one big motion you flip it all around. Peel the parchment paper off, and then you're just going to want to slowly press into the pie dish and get it all going around the edges. Make some kind of shape that you want and then go. It's good if you use a fork to just poke some holes in the bottom just to make sure all the air can get out and it cooks evenly. You can even bake this blind, although I don't think it's necessary. Baking blind is when you bake it half of the time without any filling in. You use some rice to weigh everything down. It just helps the pie keep its shape, and then basically it just helps it to cook a lot better. Chuck all the filling in and then send the pie off to be baked. When it comes back out, it will look lovely and deep and spicy and great. Honestly, don't worry too much about exactly how the pastry looks or whatever. As long as it cooks, as long as it's tasty, it is fine. I love this recipe, I won't lie to you. It is a treat and great for special occasions with a bit of ice and sugar on the top. This is not just for Americans, so try it.